Hola, compadres. Today we are going to be using a handful of tools, specifically Loft, Project Geometry, and Emboss, as well as some mirroring. This is going to be lots of tools in one video. And for this video, we're going to be drawing a trophy. So I'm going to start with this bottom plane here, and I'm going to use my 2-point center rectangle to draw the base of my trophy. And let's go ahead and do 5 tab over by 6 to get the bottom, and finish sketch. Zooming. We're also going to be using some different kinds of work planes here. I've got the base of my trophy. Now most trophies have kind of a stand at the bottom. The columns or little pylons kind of stick up in between maybe the first stand and then like a second tier. So if I want to create a new or a thickness to my bottom stand, you might say, hey, let's do extrude. That works, but I kind of want a spot that's angled up here in the front so that I can put the name of the award right there for everyone to see, so they can see how amazing I am at my achievements. And so we want to have that plaque in the front. So what we could do is we could extrude and then draw a triangle to kind of cut a wedge away. That would be one strategy. Rather, I'm just going to kind of do it all at once. And there are a bunch of ways to do this, chamfer and other things as well too. But I think it's a new tool. It's a good excuse. We're going to use this a couple times. So I'm going to create a new sketch, but I want to create a sketch that's a little bit taller than this one. In order to do that, this is kind of like selecting on the last video. I briefly touched on selecting offset from plane. We're creating a sketch offset from the plane at the same time. So you can click and drag up. I'm going to make it an inch high and press the green check mark. So what I've done is I've just created a plane on which I can draw, and a sketch. I'm in a sketch that is directly above this, and I want to draw this a little narrower up top. It's going to be the top part of that platform, and then we're going to join them together using one of our new tools. So notice if you want to kind of draw, this is going to have the same back line on the top level because it's going to have a straight back here in the back. If you want that to just redraw it for you automatically, what you can do is you can choose this Project Geometry tool. It will take the line from the back and throw it onto your new sketch in the front. So click what you want to be carried over, and boom, that's carried over to your next sketch, which is amazing and very easy to save. It's a time saver, basically. Now I want there to be like an inch difference for that slope, and you'll see what I mean in just a minute. So I'm going to come on down to here. It was 5 inches across, so I'll make it 4, and then come across here perpendicularly, snapping to that. Is that snapping? Oh, it's not. So I'm going to have to start from over here. I should have projected the other line as well. Okay, now this is in line, and I can come across here to snap. Great. All right, cool. Now I've got a enclosed figure in the top and in the bottom, which means I can loft. So click between the two objects you'd like to join, and what's going to do is it's going to map the corners to each other. It's going to map all the points on the side to each other and create this kind of really nice little stand shape. Now I can go ahead and put the title of my award. It's going to be going down right there so everyone can kind of see what an accomplished human being I am. We'll just wait. You guys just wait. Here we go. Game time. Alright, now it's time to do something interesting. I want some sort of supporting column or pylon here that's going to connect, and I don't want to make it a boring old cylinder. That's no fun. So what I'm going to do is I am going to create a sketch here. I'm going to draw a circle. Presuming like Slagle, you just said cylinders are boring. Like, give me a sec. All right. Can I explain myself? And I'm going to connect from here to here that needs to be 2 inches if I want it centered, since it's 4 inches, and from here to here, we'll just call that 1.5 and call that good. Okay, cool. I'm going to draw one column at a time just because I think this is the easiest way I've seen to figure it out. Drawing this column, and what I want to do is I want to make my column not look like a cylinder. I want it to kind of morph as it rises, and this is the cool thing about the Loft tool. I'm going to make my pylon is going to be 3 inches high, and so what I want to do is I want to connect this. I want the base to be a circle, but I want the top of my supporting pylon to be a square or a rectangle. And you're thinking, well, how are you going to get those together? Well, that's what Loft does. It can take two shapes that are, I know we did two rectangles before, they don't have to be the same, it can be anything, which is bizarre, why this is such an amazing tool. So I'm going to come back here from my top view. Now notice if I try and draw, let's use this, we want it centered, let's say we want it centered, it doesn't have to be, but let's say we want a 2-point rectangle centered. You'll notice it's not snapping to anything because there's nothing there. That means we should use project geometry. Now I'm not going to project the circle itself, but just the center. Now the center is popped up onto my plane. I can get my 2-point rectangle and I can do a 2x2 little square there. Press finish sketch. Whoops. Try that again. Back into the sketch. Control Z. Let's edit that from the top. From the top. Not the way top. Please, not the top. Okay, now I got my rectangle there. And it doesn't have to be directly centered. Like it could be off center and that would be just fine. Yeah, and so what this allows us to do now is I can take this and loft the circle up to that rectangle, and it will create this really amazing supporting structure. Now if you go into the Conditions tab, you can choose which condition you're leaning towards. There's the free condition and the direct condition, and that kind of determines the shape at which it's headed between those two faces. I've noticed that the direct condition is looks like it's heading towards that plane at like a 90-degree angle, so normal to the plane for those that understand that language, and this is just directly. The other one, or the free, is kind of just in a straight line from point to point. So I kind of like it looking like that. I think that looks kind of cool. So I'm going to call that my supporting structure. Now this is where it gets weird. You're probably thinking, why didn't you just draw another circle over here and then another rectangle? As far as I figured out, you cannot loft more than one object in a sketch at the same time. At least I have not figured out a way. So unfortunately you have to draw that and repeat the process, and so you'd come back into your drawing, draw another circle, and then do the same thing over again. But rather than bore you with that, since this is, I'm going to doing two and it's a symmetric pattern, I'm going to show you a way that you can use symmetry to get this done. This is a cool skill to practice here. You'll notice if I go into my solid bodies tab, I've got one solid body. However, you can, if I click on the loft and you go to edit loft, you can make this a new solid, so it's separate from the others. Now I have the lofted piece as a solid, and I have my bottom piece as a solid. And so what that allows me to do is, since I've centered my object and got everything pretty from the beginning, I can create a work plane offset from the plane. I like this one. It doesn't actually have to be offset. That's why it's kind of tricky. Come over here to the Origin drop-down menu, and then we're going to choose, we want a plane right here. And I'll tell you why in just a sec. We're not going to offset it at all because it's dead centered in our object, because we centered our object by the origin. Okay. Now what that allows me to do is, since I've made this shape its own solid body, and I have a plane or a mid-plane cutting through my object, I can use the mirror option to select a feature, namely this pylon, around this plane here, and it will automatically create another copy. Okay, so there we have that, and if you're not liking looking at this work plane here, you can delete it or make it invisible. So I've got my supporting structure. I now want to create a second little platform up here, and we're going to make that a different shape. So what I'm going to do to that is press Start 2D Sketch, or you can, so two ways to do it. Again, you can press Start 2D Sketch, click and drag up to 2.5, which was the height that we determined, or you can click Plane, Offset from Plane, same thing, click and drag. The only difference here is then you have to click on the edge. Whoa, what just happened? Oh, I made it 3, didn't I? Yeah, sorry. So offset from plane, click and drag 3. Get it, should be right on the surface. Yeah, perfect. Okay, and then you click on the edge and create a sketch. Now let's say I want my next one to be a slightly different shape. Let's maybe do the ellipse. Oh dear, I want it lined up. We want it centered in both directions. It's got me centered on that origin, but I want it centered with these lines here, so I'm going to actually project this line up onto my plane. Then grab the ellipse tool, because I've got it centered by this point, but I need it also centered by the midpoint of that line. Extend this out to the edge. Okay, and then I can extend it out this way, so I have an elliptical platform this is sitting on. Finish sketch. Beauty, beauty. Extrude. Let's make that 0.3 of an inch. Awesome. And you know what? I'm thinking we should fillet that edge. Yeah, that's looking real solid. Man, this award is so fitting for all my hard work. Oh my gosh. Wait, just wait. Oh man, beautiful. Okay, nice little award platform I've got built. And I want to put some sort of a trophy cup up there on top to celebrate and drink my celebratory fruit juice. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to... Now here's the biggest mistake for drawing the cup is people try and draw it on this top surface. But then when you go to rotate, you're going to create a rotation that goes into your surface. You don't want to do that. You want to create an offset work plane in one of these two options. I like the XY plane because when I do that, I already have my shape centered about this and I don't have to drag it. So that's one option. If you had chosen the YZ plane, you'd have to click and drag it to the direction that you wanted it before you drew. So I'm going to keep this at 0. Press enter, and I'm going to come through here and we're going to edit on here my cup, so to speak, my trophy cup. Alright, so my cup, we've seen me do this before. Excuse me. So my cup, get this baby centered. Looks like we want it centered right about there. I'm going to come over for the base of my cup. Come up there, and remember we only really need to draw half. And just to make this quick, I'm going to do a series of arcs. So I'll make the kind of bottom of the cup there, and perhaps a little archy poo coming up right there with a little bump. That looks nice. And maybe a large-ish arc for the cup at the top. Let's draw my line for the thickness and come on down here and oh, you know what, we need a center line here, so we got to make sure this baby's closed up. That's going to be the bottom of my cup, and an arc here coming down to that point. We're gonna, and that's not super pretty, I realize. I could make that much prettier if I took the time to do it, but I want to get through the skills here. Revolve, clicking the cup at the top is my profile. We are not revolving any solids here, folks, just the profile. The axis around which we were revolving is right there, and press OK. Oh, beauty. Look at, I have earned this award. Oh, wonderful. Wonderful, wonderful cup. Okay, fantastic. And so now it's time that we title the award. Time to give me what I deserve here. I'm going to click on this, create sketch. We are going to add text to here. I think this is going to spit back a little funky thingamajigger. I'm going to, the award I deserve. I am the most flatulent human being alive. Beautiful. Well, problem here is that little text box is rotated the wrong way. So first thing is we're going to click down on here, click in the text. We're going to be rotating that. Let's maybe rotate it about the center here, get that kind of down, fitting on my object. Now text is a real doozy in this program. I feel like it is mainly because you have to do everything in just the right order in order to get it to change. So you're going to go into your object. I'm going to click escape and make sure it's highlighted. Double click. Now when you're in here, you have to highlight before you change. And I think this needs to be about 0.5 inches if I remember. Okay, you also notice that it's being constrained by this little text box, so you might need to click and drag the edges out so it fits a little bit better. And then if you want to get it to the right spot or where you want to get it centered, you could use the dimension option on the edges if you'd like to get it perfectly centered, or move this object about a base point. And that one's a little bit harder for me to do, but you can get it pretty close. And to cap this off, I want to make sure that this doesn't wear off of my trophy and that everyone can really truly appreciate this. And so what I want to do is I'm going to emboss that text on there. You can either choose to have it be raised away from the surface or be kind of end. And emboss is basically just like extrude for text is what I've gathered. We're going to emboss the face. The profile I'm selecting is, the profile I'm selecting is the text, and then the solid's already selected, and then you choose the depth which you'd like it. 0.05. So 0.05 inches. Okay, and press OK, and that should raise it out so you've got this nice, beautiful little, perfect. And that's going to do it. So without further ado, there's our wonderful trophy. Thanks for watching, everybody. The trophies that you draw in class, I do not want to look just like this. So you need to be doing some sort of a different looking base. You should have some sort of a plaque. You should have different style supporting pylons, a different style second level. You could have more than one level if you want. Don't feel like you're restricted. Use your imagination in what you're drawing. I believe you have the skills to be able to draw a very, very grandiose trophy. So I'm rooting for you. We're all in this together. Hope you make something amazing. See you later.